Hi, I'm your host Galen, and welcome back to Radical Markets. Today we are going to talk about real and nominal negative interest rates. Alright, so first I want to talk about the difference between real and nominal interest rates. So interest rates is going to be a big theme of the show. You've probably heard about it in my previous videos if you've been staying tuned. Welcome back, by the way. I know it's been a long time. I'm going to try to start putting videos back out every week. So nominal interest rates are what you hear the government talking about and what the Federal Reserve sets. It's also what you would get at a bank account, right? So your bank account might tell you, your savings account has an interest rate of 1%. If you have $100 in the bank over a year, you might get $1 extra if you don't touch that $100. And that is your nominal increase from 100 to 1. Now, real interest rates take into account inflation. So if your nominal interest rate is positive and you have that increase from $100 to $101, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting wealthier, because you also have to consider what's going on with the value of the dollar in that same time period. So the dollar is compared to a basket of goods by the government, which gives you an inflation rate. Usually the target inflation rate of the government is about 2%. So they're trying to devalue the dollar by 2% each year. And if you're only getting 1% interest at the bank, and then the government is trying to devalue your dollar by 2%, you actually have a real interest rate of negative 1%. So now I'm getting back to the beginning of the video where I said I was going to be talking about real and nominal negative interest rates. So with real interest rates, we already are kind of in an environment where the actual interest on most people's savings is negative, unless of course you have a stock portfolio which is gaining 4% in value at the same time the dollar is only going down 2%. But if you're just somebody like me, a student who doesn't have a lot of ability to save, doesn't have a lot of different saving instruments in the way of bonds or stocks, all you have is your savings account, then you already are experiencing real negative interest rates. Now, what's interesting is in the last year and a half, world banks such as the ECB, which is the European Central Bank, the BOJ, which is the Bank of Japan, and more marginal banks like the Central Bank in Sweden, I believe Norway, Canada, these are not main players. The three most important central banks are the ECB, the BOJ, and the Federal Reserve. And so the ECB and the BOJ, Bank of Japan and European Central Bank, are already starting to play around with not just real negative rates, which would be a positive nominal rate countered with an inflation rate, which is greater than the interest rate that is being determined nominally by the bank. But they're going beyond that to have nominal negative interest rates. So there are banks in Europe and Japan that instead of giving you a percentage of your savings and interest every year, are taking a percent of your savings in every year. And this is something that the Federal Reserve in the United States has recently come out and said that it would consider, under certain circumstances, it would consider it as a remedy for our economic problems. So I'm of the persuasion that nominal negative interest rates and real negative interest rates are toxic. Positive interest rates are what we need to build savings, which then increase capital investment, which then increase efficiency. But negative interest rates are going to destroy savings, right? So if you're a saver and you're trying to accumulate wealth and the bank is no longer offering you a positive interest rate on your savings, they want to take money from you every year in your savings account. Are you going to use that service? I mean, obviously in some circumstances, let's say you have like $10,000 cash and you don't want it in your house. You may say, okay, it's valuable to me to put that in a savings account just to reduce the risk of theft. But I mean, the risk of theft in a lot of parts of America is pretty low. And there's also post office boxes you can use, which charge a fee. But I mean, at that point, you're charging a fee for a safety deposit box at a post office or a savings account at a bank, what difference does it make? So this is going to have the effect of reducing the amount of savings available to banks, which causes instability. I mean, the Great Depression started with a run on savings at the banks where people were taking out all their money, and then the banks didn't have any money left to loan out. And it creates an unstable situation, which is toxic. So anyways, I just want to introduce this topic of negative interest rates for people who, don't follow economics every day, and make people aware that banks around the world are considering implementing negative interest rates on savings accounts, and it's something to look out for in the future, something to start planning around. And so if you have any questions about the topic, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any topics that you're interested in and would like me to make a video about, I'd be glad to take such requests. All right, thank you very much. This has been Radical Markets. Have a great weekend.